Welcome back to Have I Got a Story for You, a podcast series from PJ Library. Subscribe to all of our shows on your favorite podcast platform by searching PJ Library. Today's story comes from the second book of Kings in the Tanakh, or Bible. It's a story about how much we can learn from mentors and how we carry our friends with us, even when we are not always with them. Elijah was a teacher with big ideas about the world and special powers because of his connection with God. Elijah could ask God questions and God would answer. Sometimes God helped Elijah make miracles, like turning a little bit of food into a lot, or making fire come from the sky, or helping sick people feel better. Elijah had a favorite student named Elisha, who was also his friend. Elisha followed Elijah wherever he went and hoped to be able to do everything Elijah could do. Even with lots of practice, Elisha still couldn't make miracles the way Elijah could. But he would sometimes hear messages from God. One day, when Elisha was learning by following Elijah, Elisha heard one of those messages. It told him Elijah's work was almost done and that Elisha's friend would be swept up to the sky in a peaceful whirlwind. Elisha stuck close to Elijah, the way he always had, hoping to continue learning from him. Elijah told Elisha, "God has sent me on to the town of Bethel, far from here. You may stay here if you'd like to. As long as you live, I will not leave you," Elisha said. So he followed Elijah all the way to the town of Bethel. When they arrived, Elijah turned and said, "God wants me to go on to the city of Jericho. It's okay if you do not want to come with me." That was far away, and Elisha's feet were getting sore. "But still," he said, "as long as you live, I will not leave you." So he followed Elijah all the way to the town of Jericho, watching and listening to his teacher all the time. When they arrived, Elijah turned to Elisha and spoke again. "Now God has sent me on to the Jordan River." That was very far away, and by now you can imagine how tired Elisha felt. Elijah noticed and said, "You can stay here." But again, Elisha replied, "As long as you live, I will not leave you." So he followed Elijah all the way to the Jordan River. At the riverbank, Elijah took off his mantle, which is like a coat. He rolled it up, then swung it at the water. The water parted so that Elijah and Elisha could walk on dry land. Even after such a long journey, Elijah was still full of miracles. As they crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, "Tell me, what can I do for you before God calls me into a whirlwind?" Elisha took a breath. "Please, stay with me," he said. "I still have so much to learn." Elijah was very tired and he could no longer keep doing his work. But he trusted his good friend and student. Elijah told Elisha not to worry, and then disappeared peacefully. Elisha felt sad. After all his years of following his teacher, he thought he had been left alone. But as the time passed, he realized it was not true. He could feel inside himself all of Elijah's teachings, his good ideas, his devotion to God. Elijah's spirit was alive and well inside of Elisha. He had learned so much from his teacher. Now Elisha could make miracles too. Some townspeople approached Elisha. "Please," they begged, "can you make one miracle for us? The water from our town spring is bad. It makes people sick. Can you help?" Elisha listened for God's instruction. Then he said, "Bring me a new dish and put salt in it." The people brought the salt, and Elisha took it to the spring. He threw the salt into the water and called out, "The water is safe now." Just like that, the spring became so clean and pure that everyone in the valley could now drink from it, water their animals, and use it to grow good food. And the water stayed that way forever after. Even today, people come from around the world to visit Elijah's Spring in the Jordan Valley, which is still said to flow with miraculously sweet, clean water, thanks to Elisha and to Elijah's spirit. This story was written and adapted by Jamie Kiffel El-Sheikh for PJ Library. Our music is licensed through Epidemic Sound. Ellie Thrasher is the executive producer for PJ Library, a program of the Harold Greenspoon Foundation. All rights reserved.
The birth of Moses. Life was going badly for the Israelites in the land of Egypt. A new pharaoh was in charge, and he thought Egypt had way too many Israelite people. What if they became powerful and wanted to take over? Pharaoh ordered his followers, the Egyptians, to enslave the Israelites. Work! Work harder! The Egyptian leaders ordered the Israelites. Under the burning sun, the Israelites made bricks and cement to hold the bricks together and worked in the fields. But Pharaoh was still angry and worried. There were still too many Israelites, he thought. He called in the Israelite midwives, Hebrew women who helped other women have babies. Look, he said, when you help an Israelite woman have a baby, look and see if it's a boy or a girl. If it's a girl, let her live. But if it's a boy, get rid of him. The midwives looked at each other with wide eyes. Then they looked back at Pharaoh and nodded. Yes, Pharaoh, they said. But the Jewish midwives did not listen to Pharaoh. They refused to harm the boy babies. And when Pharaoh found out, he called them to him. Why have you done this thing, letting the boys live? He asked them. Well, Pharaoh, you see, the Hebrew women are so strong. By the time we arrive, they've already given birth, so there's been nothing we could do. Pharaoh slammed his hand down. I'll have to do something else instead, he shouted, and he sent out a message to all his people. Every boy that is born, you shall throw him into the Nile River, the message said. Sometime later, an Israelite man and an Israelite woman got married and had a baby girl, and then later, another baby, a boy. This boy was so beautiful, his mother thought when she saw him. She could never, ever let any harm come to him. So, for 3 months, she hid him from Pharaoh's followers. Finally, the woman knew she had to make a plan. She couldn't keep her baby hidden forever. She had to let him go and hope that a kind Egyptian might find him. Perhaps they would take care of him. The woman found a wicker basket that was just the right size for a baby. She made the bottom waterproof so it could float. She put her baby inside, kissed his face, and closed the basket lid. With her older daughter, she took the baby and the basket down to the Nile River. Gently, she placed the basket among the reeds, floating in the water by the riverbanks. Crying, she left. But her daughter, that tiny baby sister, stayed by the river. She wanted to see what would happen, so she hid and watched. Soon, she saw one of Pharaoh's daughters, a princess, come down to the river to take a bath. The princess saw the basket floating in the water. Something was crying inside. When the princess opened the basket lid, she gasped. "A baby boy!" she said. She looked again at the baby. She could never hurt him or any other person. Then, the baby's sister tiptoed forward. "Hello," she said. "I can help, I think. Would you like me to find a Hebrew woman to help you with this baby?" "Oh, yes, thank you," the princess said. The baby's sister ran home as fast as she could. She had to get her mother. "Mother!" she shouted, bursting into the house. "Listen to what happened!" As quickly as she could, she explained about the Pharaoh's daughter. Come with me, but don't say you're his mother, just that you'll help the princess take care of him." Together, they ran back to the river. The princess held the baby out to the woman. "If you take this baby and take care of him, I will pay you," the princess said. "And please, tell me how he is doing. I've only known him for a short time, but I already feel like he is my son." She hugged the baby and then handed him to the mother, not knowing who she truly was. The mother and the daughter and the baby went home. A few years passed, and the baby grew big and strong. Finally, the mother took the baby to Pharaoh's daughter. She made him her son and named him Moses. He would grow up as an Egyptian prince, and one day, he would lead all the Hebrew people out of Egypt to freedom.
Today, we're going to listen to a Torah story you may already be familiar with, the creation of the world, from the book of Bereshit, or Genesis. Before we begin, let me share an idea with you from a great Jewish leader and teacher, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. He once asked, "What was the first holy object in the history of the world? A mountain? An altar?" He went on to answer that time, in fact, was the first holy thing. Let's listen to the story together and see if we can understand what he meant. In the beginning, the world was still unformed. On the first day, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. On the second day, God said, "I will separate waters above from waters below," and there was sky. On the third day, God said, "Let the earth sprout plants," and there were trees, fruits, and every kind of vegetation. On the fourth day, God said, "Let lights shine down on earth," and there was a sun, a moon, and many stars. On the fifth day, God said, "Let creatures swim through the sea and fly through the sky," and there were fish and birds. On the sixth day, God said, "Let animals fill the earth," and there were creeping things and beautiful animals of every imaginable kind. Then God took a deep breath and said, "Now I will make something special that contains a little bit of my own spirit." And God formed human beings. God made us. With this, the work of making a world, sky, earth, and sea, all full of creatures and the very first people, was done. God looked around and saw all the good things. God was tired and proud. So on the seventh day, God did something really important. Took a break. God rested and blessed the seventh day and called it holy. The end. Now thinking back to what our friend Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, let's reflect on that last line of the story. On the seventh day, God rested and blessed the seventh day and called it holy. The very first Shabbat happened on that seventh day of creation. It is the grand finale of the story and the very first thing designated as holy in the Torah. Not an object, not a place, not a person, but time, a day, a holy time to take a break. On Shabbat, Jewish people all over the world rest and recharge. Shabbat is a weekly invitation to families to be together in ways that matter to them, to talk, to play, to make music, to ask questions, to listen to each other, to tell stories, to see beautiful things, to check in, to think about the world together. How do you take a break? What does rest mean to your family? To learn more and to find other stories about Shabbat as well as blessings, how-tos, and printables, visit pjlibrary.org/Shabbat. That's SHABBAT. This story was narrated by Marcus Goldhaber, and our music is licensed from Epidemic Sound. Copyright PJ Library, a program of the Harold Grinspoon Foundation. All rights reserved.
You're listening to Have I Got a Story for You, a podcast from PJ Library. Today's story, Rebecca at the Well, comes from the book of Genesis. Rebecca, or Rivka, was known for being a truly beautiful person, both inside and out. In this story, listeners will get to hear of her immense kindness toward a stranger. For more about Jewish values and culture, be sure to check out our website, pjlibrary.org. Abraham knew that his son Isaac wanted a wife, but Isaac needed help finding a woman he wanted to marry. Abraham knew just the person to help, his most trusted servant. "Can you go and look for a really nice woman to be Isaac's wife? A very kind and good person?" Abraham asked his servant. "I'd like you to look in the land I was born in, Mesopotamia." "I'll leave right now," the servant said. He loaded up his camels with some food and bedding and set out. After a long day, with the sun beating down on his head, the servant finally reached a town in the evening. He led his camels up to the town's well. "Now you can rest," he said to his camels. "Just kneel down there." The servant took down the packs and sat down on one. He knew that the women of the town usually came to the well in the evenings to get jugs of water. The servant rested his head against his favorite camel and began to pray. "God," he said, "I'm here, just as Abraham asked me. When the women come to get water, I'll say, 'Please lower your jar so I can have a drink of water.' And I know that whoever is kind enough to offer water not just to me, but to the camels too, will be the one who will become Isaac's wife." Just as he lifted his head, he saw a beautiful woman coming toward him. He sat up straight. As he watched, the woman began filling her jug up at the well. The man scrambled to his feet and ran toward her. "Please let me sip a little water from your jar," he begged, his heart pounding. Quickly, she held out the jar. "Drink," she said kindly. "Please, you must be so thirsty." He was thirsty. He drank and drank, and then the woman said, "I will also give water to your camels." Abraham's servant took a deep breath. He stood watching as the woman filled her jug with water again and offered it to the camels. Was this the woman? Was she the right one? She must be. She was so nice and had been so considerate to him and to the animals as well. When the camels were done drinking, he took a gold nose ring and 2 gold armbands from one of his packs. "These are for you," he said. "What is your name? Who is your father? And can we rest at your house?" The woman took the ring and the armbands. She looked at them, then put them on. "I'm Rebecca," she said. "You look tired. Come with me. There's plenty of straw and feed at my home and also room to spend the night." The man sent up a prayer to God. This was the woman. She was good and she was generous. She had given the answers he had prayed for, and she was from the land of Abraham's birth. Rebecca ran ahead as he gathered up his camels. She called out to her brother as she neared the house. "We have a guest! An important guest!" Rebecca's brother came out and saw the nose ring and armbands Rebecca was wearing. Then he saw Abraham's servant and the camels. "Friend," he said as the servant approached, "please come inside, and let's give your camel some straw and grain. Then maybe you can tell me what is going on." The servant sat down, and Rebecca's brother, father, and mother, and Rebecca brought out food and water to wash the man's dirty, hot feet. He smiled at them both. "I am Abraham's servant," he began, and he explained the whole journey, how Abraham had sent him to look for a wife for Isaac, how he had prayed to God that the right woman would offer him and his camels water at the well, and how Rebekah had done that and had accepted his gift of the jewelry. "Tell me if I am right," the servant concluded. "Rebekah, are you the right woman for Isaac?" Rebekah and her parents and brother all looked at each other. "Yes," they said after a moment. "Yes!" The man grinned. He dug into his pack and brought out beautiful clothes and gifts made of silver and gold. He offered them to Rebekah and her family. Everyone ate and drank and celebrated. The next morning, he woke up early. "We should begin our journey home," he said to Rebekah and her family. "Abraham and Isaac are waiting for us." But Rebekah's mother and brother threw their arms around her. "We're going to miss you so much," they said. "Can't you stay just a little longer, please?" "We really do need to go," the servant said. "Rebekah, do you want to stay home a tiny bit longer?" Rebekah's family asked her. "Or do you want to go now?" "I'd like to go now," Rebekah said. "I'm ready to meet Isaac." Rebekah's family stepped back. She had made her decision. Rebekah and her servant mounted the camels and followed along, back down the dusty road toward Abraham's house. They reached home just as the sun was setting out in the fields. Rebekah looked up from her camel. She saw a man walking amidst the grain. "Stop!" she said, and got down from her camel. "Who is that man walking in the field toward us?" she asked Abraham's servant. He smiled. "Isaac," he said. Rebekah drew her veil around herself, a sign of betrothal. She did this to show that she meant to marry Isaac. He approached and took her hand. "Come and meet my family," he said. And together, they walked to his tent and went inside.
This episode was written by Emma Carlson Burnett, narrated by Percy Blythe, and produced by Ali Thresher. Our music is licensed by Epidemic Sound. For full credits, please go to pjlibrary.org/podcast. Joseph had a beautiful, special coat made of many colors. It was a gift from his father, Jacob. None of Joseph's brothers had a coat like that. All 11 of his brothers felt that Joseph was clearly their father's favorite son. Whenever Joseph wore his special coat, the brothers could not stop staring at it. It was like a constant reminder that their father loved Joseph the most. When Joseph was 17, his father sent him out to help take care of the family's flock of sheep, along with all of his brothers. Joseph put on his coat and went out to the fields. "You're not doing a good job with these sheep," Joseph told his brothers. "You're letting the lambs wander away." The brothers grumbled and scowled at Joseph, but Joseph did not care. When they got back to their father's house, he told Jacob what he'd seen while out with the flocks. The brothers were starting to dislike Joseph. They could hardly say anything nice to him. Sometimes they even wished he wasn't around. Then one morning, Joseph said to his brothers, "Listen to this dream I had last night. We were harvesting grain out in the fields, and my bundle of grain stood up straight, but your bundles of grain gathered around and bowed down to my bundle." "You mean like you're going to rule over us? Is that it?" the brothers asked. They were feeling like they disliked Joseph more and more. Joseph had another dream. This time, the moon and the sun and 11 stars bowed down to him, he said. And now his brothers were very angry. They wanted to do something about Joseph, something really bad. They just didn't know what. Not yet. One day, when the brothers had taken the sheep to a faraway valley, Jacob called Joseph to him. "Go and see how your brothers are and how the flocks are doing, and bring word back to me," he told Joseph. Joseph nodded and left. While the brothers were sitting with their sheep watching them graze, one brother saw a little dot in the distance. "Look," he said, "it's Joseph the dreamer. I can tell by his coat." Another brother squinted. "He never takes that thing off. "What's he doing here?" "He's probably come to spy on us," another one said, and everyone laughed. "I know what we should do," one said. "Let's knock him into one of those big pits we've seen. Then we can tell everyone that he went away." He smirked. So much for those dreams of his. But another brother, Reuben, shook his head. "No, listen, that is wrong. Let's just mess with him a little, but we don't want to hurt him." The brothers looked at each other. "Maybe. We'll see," they said. "I have to go back and check on our father," Reuben said. "I will be back soon." He headed off just as Joseph came to the group. "Brothers," Joseph said, breathing hard. "Finally, I found you. I looked around, but then a man told me you were here." Before he could say another word, his brothers grabbed him and stole his beautiful coat right off his back, and then threw him down into one of the big pits. "There," one of them said. "Took care of that problem. I'm hungry. Let's eat." But as they were off and eating, a group of traders with camels came by. They were heading toward Egypt, and a brother named Judah had an idea. "Hey, let's sell Joseph to these traders, and then at least we'll get some money. Plus, he won't be here to boss us around anymore." The others agreed, and together they pulled Joseph up out of the pit. He was dirty, scared, and mad, but he didn't resist when the brothers handed him over to the traders for 20 pieces of silver. When Reuben came back and saw the empty pit, he burst into tears. "He's gone," he cried. "Our father will be so upset. What are we going to do?" "We have to make it look like a wild animal got him," one of the brothers said. He held up Joseph's torn coat. "We'll mess this coat up and show it to our father." When Jacob saw the ripped coat, he cried and cried. "Joseph was torn by a beast," he wailed. The brothers tried to comfort him, but he was too sad. Meanwhile, the traders had taken Joseph to Egypt and sold him to one of Pharaoh's helpers. The brothers didn't know that over time, Joseph would become best friends with Pharaoh. He would help Pharaoh understand dreams. Eventually, Joseph would even help save Egypt from terrible hunger, and he would help save his brothers from that hunger too. Most importantly, Joseph would see his father again. They would be reunited and be a family once more. This episode was written by Emma Carlson Bernay and produced by Ali Thresher. Our music is licensed from Epidemic Sound. If you enjoyed this story, please be sure to rate us on Apple Podcasts. For more, visit pjlibrary.org/podcast.